I'm really happy to see some people here this evening at 6 o'clock. I was at 4 o'clock for the staff open forum, but I'll tell you what, it's a beautiful night, it's 80-some degrees, and you're here, and I appreciate it. I was worried that I would be talking to myself. Anyway, based on the fact that we have a number of staff members here, we have our two board members, and we have one of our teachers. Let's keep it real informal, and if you have questions or comments, we're here. Hi, Carrie. Mary Ann, join the group. We may need you now.
Can I make a comment?
Yes.
I love the emails. I'm not kidding. Look what happens when you put it out there. You put it out there in black and white, and everybody cleans up their act so fast. It was amazing. I love that tactic.
Yeah. The shutting off your computers.
Yes.
It works.
It works. But we can do this with so many other things. The kids, Dean and I were talking on the way over. Kids absenteeism. Put it out there in black and white. Let's make it a little bit more bold. And have a way that parents can look at their kids. Oh, wow, my kids. You know, if your kid's not there 95% of the time, pretty good chance you're not going to be doing real well.
Well, that's why Bordeaux has them right outside the doorway there every day. And the attendance here at Bordeaux is wonderful. In fact, we have kids that are, well, I don't have to say. Mary Ann, Carrie, what are some of the kids saying in terms of...
They're holding each other accountable. They're telling their parents, I can't miss school. They're getting rewards for it. They're encouraging each other. And
that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And that's the intent of focusing in on attendance and graduation, just putting it out front so people understand that if you're going to be successful, coming to school every day is important in relation to graduating and going on and doing what you want to do in your life. So starting early in our elementary schools and carrying that through into our middle grades and on into high school, that's the way it needs to be. And we're making great progress. Now our attendance last week was over 90%.
91.5.
91.5. And we're consistently right there. In fact, in some schools we're at, like here, we're at 94, 95. That's wonderful. So, yeah. Good job, Glenn. So, yes, Carrie, do you have any? Nothing?
It doesn't feel as bad in here as I thought it would, but our air conditioning's not working, sorry, parts are on order. So.
We'll get it fixed. Right? Sally and Sally, as board members, is there anything that you would like to communicate or ask about? This could be a short meeting. And we have the media here. Do you have anything you want to say or ask?
We're going to report on what you all say.
Okay. I thought you might say that.
Alex, can we talk a little bit about what the staff group talked about and just the Friday check-in and
update of what that group did? Because that was a pretty inspiring conversation, I thought.
Yeah, it was very good. Go ahead.
So it really just started with hiring people and how we have a teacher shortage, and that launched into getting people to come here, which then launched into why Shelton, and it wasn't, but it took on a positive tone and just almost that competitive nature of we can do it too, and how we're all ambassadors, and we just need to all be working every day to get the word out there, to be the ambassador, and not put up with what you hear from your colleagues or in the store or whatever. No more of that. That's baloney. We got to start speaking up. It was just really inspiring.
We have a lot of good things going on in the district, and I mentioned that exactly what Linda just talked about, that every one of us, from the school board to myself, to teachers, to parents, we're the ones that need to spread the word. I mean, there's always something positive to say in your relationships with people as you go through your day. I know that I've had people say somewhat negative things about the school district, and I go, well, are you sure you have your facts right? I think so, so I know, I try to correct them, and then they go, hey, I didn't know that, So I think it's important that we're always in a position to promote our district. We have a lot to be proud of. We really do. We've got a great community, a community that's stepping up to the plate in terms of supporting us in terms of our programs. You go to all these different events, our schools are packed with parents. I mean, tonight at 7 o'clock, we have another choir program. I'm sure it's going to be packed. Last week we had the bands. That was well attended. I go to a number of events. Parents are there. We have parent involvement in our school district. I mean, do we have every single parent at every single event? No. But when you attend these events, there's a lot of people there that support their kids, that support our school district. So continuing to do good things every single day is important in terms of our image, in terms of our reputation. We've got good things to say in terms of, for example, graduation matters Shelton. We're at 3.7%, right, Bob? In terms of the graduating class of 2016. We've lost 7 students at Shelton and 8 at Choice. Do we want every one of them to stay in school? Absolutely. But our staff is making great progress. Our counselors, our administrators, our teachers, we're all working together to make sure that we're moving forward there. Our attendance is great. Those are the things that we need to communicate. And Linda did a great job with our publication last week that went out to 15,000 people. That was probably one of the most positive publications that I've ever seen in my career, focusing on the school district and what they're doing right. Those are the kinds of things that people need to know about. We don't have a public relations person per se, but we're all in public relations every single day. So as we go through our day, keep that in mind. Very, very important. Perceptions can change. Yes. I thought you were ready to say that.
Well, how about we talk about most inspiring student award?
That's a good one. We're embarking on a new program on June 1st, and basically it's the most inspiring student award program. We're asking our principals and our staff to select 5 students in each school that are dealing with adversity in a very positive way and that are winning. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a program on June 1st at 6 o'clock at Shelton High School, and we're going to have a dinner, and we're going to invite those kids and their parents, and I think we're allowing even more people to come from the family. It should be a great event. I've done this in other school districts where it became the biggest event of the year. And that's a time when we'll provide them with a beautiful certificate, we'll showcase them on stage, we'll give them a beautiful medallion earmarking the program, and they'll have their name on it. But that's going to be a great program that I think will continue to grow. We have on deck the Moving On ceremonies where we're going to honor our students as they move from one grade level to the next. That's consistent with letting our students know that every step of the way is important in relation to being successful in school, graduating from high school, and going beyond. So we have a number of things that are going to be initiated this year, and we hope to have more as the years go by. But recognizing parents, recognizing students for a job well done, recognizing staff, very, very important. Anything else Linda, that you can think of?
Bond?
Oh, yes. I've got to be careful about that. We have a very important date that all of us need to be aware of. That's February 14th, 2017, where we will put forth a replacement levy and a bond issue. We have our first meeting with our Community Advisory Committee tomorrow night at 5:30 in the ad building. I've invited a lot of people to attend. We'll see who shows up. We've got a lot of RSVPs, but that's an important date for the Shelton School District. And so we're going to be on a fast track, a very fast track. So we're going to work very hard up front, and our hope is that through the process, we will submit to the board, our school board, a recommendation on the bond and of course the levy by August 23rd. So that's moving fast, but our principals are geared up to provide us with their needs and to come forward and present that to the larger committee, and then the large committee will report the recommendation to the school board. But we need to move quickly. We're right in line with another school district that passed a $90 million bond issue, Tukwila. But it's funny how the timeline is exactly the same in terms of when they started and when they're going to submit the information to the public. And so it can be done, and we're going to do it. We'll make things happen. We've got good people signed up, ready to attend the meeting. We've got board members, we've got business leaders, we have staff. So I'm pretty excited about the meeting tomorrow, because once we meet tomorrow, we're going for it. Full speed ahead. Comments on that? Questions?
I had an opportunity last night to sit down and have dinner with five high school students. And we had a great conversation, and they really did talk about everything from who on earth came up with the design of that high school and what they do with it now, to what their future plans are. That they have felt a positive change in climate at Shelton High School, and they talked about classes, some classes they thought that we needed more of. Just a lot of a great dialogue. So they're, our students that are moving up or moving on, they have a great perspective of what's happened at their time there, and
That's important to
how
know.
things work.
That's
How do
important.
things work in the lunchroom? They talked about the lunchroom. They talked, just about all the little nuances of being at the high school, of having the grades, the changes of the grades, and going from junior high to high school, and those sorts of things. So,
Well, right along with that, Sally, another thing that we need to discuss in relation to the bond is how we're going to organize our grade levels, our reorganization. That's a number one priority before we really start getting into what the bond is going to be all about. We need to make decisions. And I guess this has been brought up in the past. For one reason or another, we didn't land on any kind of a decision. But that's in the past. We know that now, looking into the future, we need to take a good hard look at the issue of transition, the issue of capacity, the issue of program as it relates to our students. I think I made a comment about the fact that we have our partner schools to consider as it relates to the reconfiguration. We have a desire by quite a few people to go to a four-year high school. What does that mean? What changes will that mean to the district? I was at Mountain View Elementary, and we were talking about a number of things in relation to Mountain View and our elementary schools, and the staff there came up with some great ideas that we've noted, where we should focus on maybe the capacity issue at the elementary school, making our elementary schools pre-K through 6, and these are all ideas. But this is what the process is going to be about, to vet all these different ideas And then leave the middle school 7-8, and then make the high school 9-12, incorporating the junior high into a super high school campus. So we're going to hear a lot of different ideas as we go through the process, but the reconfiguration subject is extremely important as it relates to overall student achievement and the bond issue. Very important.
So I have a question geared more towards you. Let's say we did make all the elementaries at least K-6. We would love to do pre-K
Yeah, right.
6. But if we did, what is the cost? I think Dean and I walked with schools, and like Mountain View needed, I think, 16 rooms. I don't know, Bordeaux, we would need at least, because you go up kindergarten up first, so you would need, if you added 6th grade, you would need at least
You need
6 more
4
rooms.
6th grade classrooms and then whatever it would take for preschool.
Right.
So what would the cost, if we decided to go that way and make everything K-6, we would definitely have to make our buildings bigger,
Larger.
have more bathroom space. What would it cost for 3 additions? And then Mountain View still, because I know Mountain View doesn't want to get let down without getting anything.
They haven't been specifically identified, and that's part of the whole process as we go through identifying reconfiguration of different scenarios, and then we'll put together, numbers that we can use as a part of that. We don't have an answer for that for you now,
Okay.
but it is something that's the question number one that comes up is like, now what does that mean for facilities? What does that mean to be able to build and maintain those? And so that will definitely be part of that whole exercise.
The one thing we have to keep in mind, thank you, Reverend, we've got a $65 million bonding capacity. In 2016, 17, 18, 19, that is not a lot of money. When you have school districts in the state now that are asking for $500 million to do what they want to do. New high schools can cost 120, 130 million, and we're talking 1,500 capacity high schools. They're building elementary schools anywhere between 18 and 40 million across the country. So as we think about the reconfiguration, as we think about our priorities, we need to keep in mind our taxpayers, respect for our taxpayers. There's no question that we as a school district have a responsibility to let the public know, folks, this is what we really need. It's not what we want, it's what we truly need. But we also know that this is step one. There's going to be another bond in the future. And maybe in this bond, we focus, for example, again, just an idea, we focus on our elementary schools and reconfiguration. And then the next bond will focus on the high school. I mean, though that's one scenario, there's probably 10 scenarios. But I think we need to keep an open mind in these meetings, both at the building level and at the community district-wide level. And I'm sure that the people that are on these committees will understand that money is going to come into play here.
It's hard for me personally to think about the reconfiguration because I like the idea that you just laid out, but it's hard for me to picture that without knowing how much at least one building would cost. I know what it costs to build a home. I don't know what it costs to build a wing of a school. So without kind of a ballpark figure.
And that figure can change, and here's the problem. You in the year 2016, they may say, well, we can do a major remodel at Mountain for $25 million. Or we can build maybe a new school for $18 million, like our architect mentioned there. There's a school being constructed, an elementary school, brand new, $18 million. That $18 million, you're going to have contingencies that you need to consider, and then depending on when you actually build the school, you need to be careful because I guess historically we've been there in Shelton where we wanted to do something and then we ran out of money. And so we don't want to go there again.
No.
And so it's very important you take into consideration tax, inflation, various fees that the architects and engineers are going to charge. So we have to be very careful. Somebody may tell us, well, we can build you an elementary school for 20 million. But by the time you actually build it, it'll be 25, 28. Now, we've got state match, but my sense of things is, in my experience, you don't count on state match. You don't go into a bond saying, oh yeah, we're going to get $20 million from the state of Washington. No worries.
Yeah, I do that.
That's been the death of some districts. And so what we would do is we would realistically look at our bonding capacity and what these various committees come up with in terms of needs. And that's what we can do. The arm will only stretch so
Right.
far. But in the final analysis, we'll also have in the back of our mind what we could get from the state. And that's when you take that money, that's like frosting on the cake, and you do some of the things that you thought you obviously couldn't do. Okay, then it's a big plus. But to say to the public, oh, we qualify based on this plan, X number of dollars, I think it's a big mistake. Brenda, you might want to comment on that.
Oh, I agree. That's exactly what happened in Company last time. When we went out to bid, the projections the architects did, the bids ended up being way higher. So we ran out of money, so.
And you know what, I've said this, you're going to hear this a lot. It's promises made, promises kept. When you say to the public, you're going to do this, it's better not to do more than you can handle, or say more than you can handle, believe me. We can do this within this range, and then do it. Then you come back later, and the public's going to say, hey, they said they were going to do this, they did it. Hey, we're with you for the next time. And it's best not to just try to do everything because you can get in trouble really fast. Yes, ma'am.
I'm just kind of curious what the reason on looking at moving the 6th grade down. Part of it might be an old school answer, just in the fact that I was the first Shelton Middle School class to go from 6th grade at the middle school instead of being elementary. That's how long it's been that way in Shelton. So that might be like that old school, okay, I've always seen it grouped together. But the other thing is, if we're adding pre-K at the elementary, that seems like such a widespread pre-K all the way up to 6th. I guess as a parent, I'm like, oh, there's so much between her in 6th grade. I don't know if I felt heartfelt that them and same, and just the teacher side developmentally, they seem better with 6, 7, 8. If you're to group 6, 7, 8 together.
And I think you're touching on something that's very important for all of us to consider as we develop this plan. Ultimately, the way this should work is that the program, the instructional program, should drive the bond issue, not the other way around. Facilities should not dictate program. The program should dictate what we're going to do with our buildings. And so we have to have in our minds, we need to understand that we need to move forward on this plan in terms of what's best for kids, what's best for staff, what's best for the community. It's not simple. But that's why I've asked a lot of people to participate so we can get ideas. But we are on a fast track in order to be able to do what we're talking about in 2017. We can't wait, based on capacity issues at the elementary school and the needs, the maintenance and operation needs in our schools. We can't hesitate. So we have to look at this bond issue as a first step, and Robert and I and others are going to think about, okay, where do we want this to go in the next 15 years? And be able to explain that to the public, that folks, we'll be back to you, we respect you, and we're trying to do everything we can to keep this at a minimum, but you need to know these things need to be addressed too. The last thing we want to do is to not let the community know what we really, truly need. and then you kind of back off based on your resources. That's the way it has to work. One community member I talked to said, hey, Alex, let's just go out there with 65 million. You know, again, we need to talk about it. What can the community handle? 65 million, 65 million. But we have a lot of people that are very positive about the school district. And we have people on the committees that are citizen leaders. They may say, you know, we've checked, we feel that based on the direction of the district, we can get it done. And sometimes you have to take that position, you go for it. But not until you really analyze everything. We're going to run a community survey. You know, once we have various options in relation to the bond, you know, we're going to either go online. I think that's probably one of the better ways to do it, because I've been told that in Shelton people don't like phone surveys, but we'll talk about that too. But we need community input in terms of what the community wants. And so when you run the bond issue, people are saying, hey, we're in, we know what's happening, we buy into it, we support it. So, you know, you pass the darn bond before you even run it. And that's what we want. This is, so I got to be careful what I say here. Thank you.
So Alex, just to get a point of reference, what, Brenda, when we did the last bond for Bordeaux and the middle school and Evering, what was the amount we asked the public for?
I honestly don't know off the top of my head because I wasn't involved in that one
Okay.
at all. I have it at work, but
Okay.
I honestly don't know.
You have so many things in your head, I thought you would have.
Not that one. I gotta get this new one in there.
There's another dynamic we can't forget about, and that's the replacement levy. Those are our daily expenses, you know, and it's rather unique. We've said we're going to run both. Olympia ran both, won it. Other districts have run both and won it. And so we have to let people know what the replacement levy is all about, making sure that that passes. Those are our daily expenses, especially when we're talking about what the legislature might be thinking about. The replacement levy becomes very important. And so it's a two-pronged approach. Levy, replacement levy, we're not going to ask, at least I don't think we're going to ask for one more penny. That's where we want to be. And then we have the bond issue. Any questions, comments? Dean?
Not this time.
Bob? Randy? You're okay?
I'm cool.
All right. There's Linda saving me again.
Because there's so much good news to share, how about talking a little bit about the Health and Science Academy?
Well, I think most of the people in this room know about the Health Science Academy, but we are very fortunate that we've developed a partnership with Mason General Hospital to initiate a Health Science Academy at the high school. I'm hoping that it becomes a K-12 and beyond academy where we hook up with all of an elementary school, middle grade school, and we already have interest from Olympic College and then from Olympic College to Western in terms of a possible relationship there where we take the health science program all the way through. And what a wonderful thing to be able to offer our students if they're interested in the medical field, because there's a lot of employment opportunities where they can start off in the elementary school, develop an interest, continue on, go into the high school and be involved in mentorships, internships, and then go on to a junior college, community college, or goes directly to a four-year university. And the word's getting out there, folks. I had an orthopedic surgeon that came in to see me today out of the blue, and retired, a very noted orthopedic surgeon that was an orthopedic surgeon for the University of Washington, and also practice at Mason General, lives in the community, heard about our program, wants to offer their services, wants to be involved in developing the curriculum. So people are getting excited about the possibilities. I'm hoping that other entities within the community will come forward and be interested in starting other academies, like a Law and Business Academy, or a Media Academy, or a Professional Teacher Academy. The sky's the limit in terms of what we can do. And there are high schools in this country that have 4 and 5 academies. And K-12, they have 4 and 5 academies. So it just depends what we want to do. And my sense is that we want to do good things. And we have teachers at the high school that have already signed up to go to Tennessee to take a look at the high schools there and what they're doing with health science and other academies. We have the people from our newly created Innovation and Creativity Committee. And Dean, maybe you can talk a little bit about that, where they might be traveling.
Oh, yeah, they are going to Tennessee. Tennessee has some strong academies for their students, and we've kind of previewed some of their videos, and they offer a program so visitors can come and they walk them through and kind of train them on what their program is about. And I got to be honest, as a teacher, and it's really exciting to see the academy idea because it brings that relevancy in for students. And that's one thing that we heard from students was, when I'm at high school, I want it to be relevant. I just don't want to be there to get my diploma. I want, where am I going? Because we're forcing them now with career ed to start thinking about where they're going, and it would be nice to offer them some of those pathways that are really focused for their interest. And at least according to the videos, it looks really exciting. And some people are going to go there, and we're going to head off to Tampa, Florida at some point and check out a conference that's about academies and different ways that we can serve the students' needs. So it's a good one.
Thank you, Dean. You know, that $50,000 a year for 4 years, most of that money, quite frankly, in the first 2 years, is going to go all for professional development and travel for our teachers. So our teachers can go out and see what's happening throughout the country, and having experienced this before, this is what it takes. People come back, they're excited, they say, if they can do this and that over there, we're doing it here. And so that money, especially the first couple of years, will go towards our teachers and supporting them to get out and take a look at how we can make those things happen here. So Mason General Hospital, very important partner.
One thing I didn't hear is there a goal date?
Pardon?
One thing I didn't hear is there a goal for a start date?
Well, our goal informally is to have something start within 2 years, but more than likely, based on my experience, it could take 3. We might be fortunate enough to implement it 2. It just depends upon the staff. You know, what happens there, the dynamics involved, how they come back after these visits. I mean, they can really push this thing, but what we're trying to do is not just establish a pathway. We want to start a nationally accredited academy where we become part of the academy structure throughout the country. So that's pretty important.
I do have a question. My name is Ricardo. I'm the interpreter for the school district, and I have a question that I've been wondering about this is, what is the school district thinking of doing when it comes to foreseeing the future influx of Spanish population to this particular area, specifically also regarding populations of that are from small communities in Guatemala that they might not be Spanish speaking and their social economical status is different than people that are from Mexico. And my dad and I are a witness of that. Sometimes we might share the similar cultures, but our cultures are a little bit different. And sometimes teachers don't have the ability to discern whether they're from Mexico or from Guatemala. So it's hard to relate certain elements of that culture. And in elementary school, perhaps it's easier, but once they get into high school, where the educational system becomes more complex, I mean, if graduation matters, it's important. We definitely need to possibly address that in the future when all those kids in elementary school become high school students.
That is a great point. and I'm glad you asked. Your father has been very instrumental in helping us move the agenda as it relates to your issue. There's no question. And we've reinforced our schools with additional staff to help our students, our Latino students. We're also doing that with our Native American students. So we're very cognizant of the various cultures that are in our schools, and the demographics are obviously changing, and we need to adjust. Now, based on that, the principals and I met on Tuesday of this week, yesterday, and we talked about professional development, that we can't be all over the place in terms of professional development, that as a district, we have a focus. The focus is Graduation Matters Shelton, and we have our 8 specific goals that support Graduation Matters Shelton. But one of the goals, one of the 8 goals is professional development. And in the past, quite frankly, we've been spread too thin in terms of what we involve our teachers with in terms of professional development. So I think you're going to appreciate what I'm going to say next. Language acquisition and differentiated instruction, meeting the needs of all students. That's going to be our focus in terms of professional development in the Shelton School Districts, starting in the fall and continuing for a minimum of 3 years. Now, we all know there's dozens of other areas we could be focusing upon. But in terms of our changing demographic, we believe that these are the 2 areas that we want to go deep on, rather than to go 1 inch deep on 30 different areas. And I think our teachers are going to appreciate that, because not only is it more focused, but it will have a direct impact on student achievement for all students from all countries. Okay? So I'm very aware of what you're talking about. Ricardo and I have talked about this many times. We need to be cognizant of the different cultures in our school district. I mean, we need to value the culture and the history of the culture. That's very important. If students don't feel that we're paying attention to those important elements, you talk about student achievement, they're not going to be with us. You know, they're the ones that are going to do poorly in school, that are not going to graduate, that are going to drop out. But we must have a curriculum and professional development and instructional expertise to deal with the issues that you brought up. So we're hitting it hard. English language learners, we're going to implement a new program in the fall to help us, and those 2 areas of professional development will enhance that effort. So we've got to pay attention, and we are. And we're going to make some progress. I really believe that. Thank you for asking that question.
And we're not alone in that in our district. That's a statewide thing. We just passed the law, House Bill 1541, and that was one of the 8 elements in there was cultural competency for all school staff throughout the state. And I spent all day yesterday in Olympia going through, okay, how are all the different elements from this bill, how are we now starting to implement it since it's been passed? So there will be things coming from WASDA, because this is an issue across the state to support all school districts in this work.
We're taking dead aim on it. And we're doing this for not only our students, but can you imagine being in a classroom and you have students that can't speak English, can't comprehend English, and you have all different levels of student ability. I mean, that can be a frustrating experience for our teachers. So that's why I'm saying we've got to be focused on our training, and differentiated instruction, because our teachers, I mean, I talk to them, they tell me. You know, so that's why I've said And the individual schools have some other things that they're doing in terms of professional development, but that's where the district's going to be. Now, there's another issue. The issue is time. Time. To bring teachers together so they have time to not only learn about differentiated instruction and language acquisition issues, but being able to sit down with their colleagues in a positive environment where they don't feel rushed to take off and do whatever. I mean, the Innovation and Creativity Committee is working on that to see what we can do to slow the day down, to give our teachers a fighting chance to win. You know, I mean, right now, teachers they're running through the day. And so we've got to figure out, and we've been talking about this for 50 years, and I've charged the Innovation and Creativity Committee with finding a way, taking the first step to slow the day down so that we can give our teachers a chance to win, which in effect, we prepare our students to win. Because right now, the district has a total of 25 hours that we can direct towards the two things that I said. 25 hours. That's no time. And so we've got to figure out how to make that work. Because the demographics, it's here.
Yeah.
It's here today. It's not something that's going to happen tomorrow. It's here. And our kids are suffering. I went to the high school with Ricardo, and I talked to some outstanding students, and they're suffering. They don't understand what's happening, and so we have our work cut out for us. But I have faith, though, that our staff will pull together, and with the support of the board, we're gonna make progress, and it's got to be progress right away. They can't wait.
And I'm sorry, one more thing that I forgot to mention is that back in 1994, I was a student in Mountain View. I came for a year to come to school here, and Mr. Fairbrother was my teacher at that time, Jim Fairbrother's husband. And one thing that really helped me learn the language, because I had spoken English at that time, it was Mr. Fairbrother was very patient with me, extremely, very, very patient. So, I mean, I commend him and his wife; they're excellent staff. But one thing that really helped was my parents really helped me with my homework a lot. The problem is that the parents of our Spanish population, they don't speak any English. Sometimes they don't even speak Spanish. So, I mean, it's hard. I don't know what the school can do to improve the possibilities of these parents to improve themselves, because as they improve themselves, they also help their children as well.
Well, Ricardo and I have talked about that. Ricardo, do you have comments?
Yes, right now Alex has been working with the community. They were bringing us as a committee of 30 parents, and they're trying to put together a plan to address these kind of issues, how we get training, how we get involved in the school. And it's a good positive thing that's happening right now. They have like 20 concerns. It's a big list of concerns for all the schools. And now they came to 5, and now we have 2 concerns, and it's bullying and attendance in the school.
Right.
So the district school and the community working for a training to train the parents how to help kids to attend the school, how to help parents to fight against bullying. You know, the bullying at home, and say, you don't go to school with bullying, things like that. So it's a good thing. Parents always ask me, so when is the next meeting with Alex? When is the next meeting? It's coming. It's coming. Yeah, it's happening. It's been 3 meetings already.
Yeah.
And they're ready for more and plans. So it's a good thing. The community work for that.
Thank you, Ricardo. Let me just tell you that I know personally what it's like not to be able to speak the language when you're a youngster in elementary school. My parents couldn't speak English. My mother was from Greece. My dad was Greek. I was the oldest son. My mother, that's all she spoke. And I didn't really start speaking English till the last part of the 2nd grade. And the humiliation, you can imagine what it was like when I was in elementary school. and the bullying, and nobody complained. My mother didn't know how to access the schools, so I dealt with that, and I know the feeling. So when I talk to the kids, and they're trying to express how they're feeling, I know exactly how they're feeling. It's not good. And so that's why Ricardo and I, and staff, the Native American staff in our schools, we've been meeting the Native American staff in terms of culture and history. We're putting a 3-year plan together. I mentioned to Brenda, we need to reinforce the staffing for our Native American student population, and we're doing that next fall. We did it with the Latino population, and we're going to continue to bang away at it because it's very important. When we say we want all students to graduate, that's the driver in my mind. Then we better do things to make that happen. Student achievement for all. Graduation for all. So that's the focus. I've got about 5 minutes because I've got to go to, and I've got to make a presentation at the Anna Bay concert at the high school. Everything's happening on one day here. But that's going to be a great event. Haven't been to it before, obviously, but looking forward to it. It's a community school event, right?
Yes.
So, anything else for the good of the order here? Robert, anything that you would like to say?
No, but we're just excited as we're getting through and getting things prepared for summer projects. And we're focusing on all of our needs, and we're meeting with staff at school. We're at board every day and walking through things, and we're also focusing on our bond committees and at each facility, so we can really focus on what our needs are to get us to where we need to be, and so that facilities serve our staff and our students and really provide a comfortable and safe environment for all, so instruction can thrive, and we can support all these things and all these great plans that we have. Graduation matters and all of these things. So we're really excited about the future and the community coming aside with all of us and partnering with us to move forward.
Thank you. Sally, anything? Linda? Brenda? Sally? Carrie? Bob? Randy? Anybody over here? I think I'll leave you with this. I think the district is at a pivotal point. It's at a pivotal point, and we need to take it to the next. That's what we all have to be thinking. We're going for it in every way possible. There is no losing anything. And when I get up in the morning, that's my attitude. I go for it every single day, and that's what I want every one of us to keep that in mind, that this is a pivotal point. Things are going well right now, but now is when we've got to really turn it on. There is no rest. We've got to get it done for our kids. And so I see great things happening every single day, and we just got to keep going. Our work is never finished. Never. We always can be better. We celebrate our accomplishments, but we have to have the mentality that we're going faster and we're going to go higher. I thank you, and I appreciate you being here on such a beautiful evening.